My first guest did the math, adding up the minutes we have each day. And it came to this, 1,440 minutes. Then he wrote a book about it called The Power of 1,440 Minutes, making the most of every minute in a day. He shares making the most of our time starts with our mindset. He also happens to be one of the most dynamic and popular pastors out there today. Take a look.
I don't mind talking about the goodness of Jesus because I know what he's done for me.
Every Sunday, 38,000 parishioners make the time to listen to Tim Timberlake's thought-provoking sermons.
I believe that you should set aside time for God, but I believe you should set aside intentional time for him at the beginning of every year.
Both in person and online. On Instagram, he pastors to an astounding 1 million followers.
I walk with a lot of people that don't believe in God, and I walk with a lot of people that do believe in God.
And he has shepherded faith journeys with people from all walks of life, including Grammy Award-winning artists and professional athletes, as well as teams, among them the Seattle Seahawks, Tennessee Titans, Houston Texans, Minnesota Vikings, New Orleans Saints, and Jacksonville Jaguars.
Celebration Church, we got that miracle tonight. I want to see y'all in church tomorrow, 9 and 11. Let's go.
He's been a senior pastor for 19 years, following the footsteps of his father, another pastor who instilled in Tim values of faith, love, and one of the biggest lessons he shares with us today.
Time is one of the only things that we can constantly look at, and it still slips away from us.
Tam Fam, please welcome to our show, Pastor Tim Timberlake. Welcome to the show. What an honor to have you with us. Thank you so much. Have a seat.
Hey, Tam Fam.
Oh, I love it. Hey, Tam Fam, you said, I love that. I mean, you were backstage, you could hear, I'm listening, scared to run out of time.
Yeah.
You know, using our time wisely, wasting our time on people who don't deserve our time.
Yeah.
It is one of those common threads.
It is.
When you started to tackle this book, you put together a mindset shift, you said. You said we have to shift from a mundane mindset to a miraculous mindset.
Yeah.
First I was trying to figure out, what is a mindset in the first place? Is it the doctrine of our life? What is a mindset?
A mindset is something that we get stuck in. Mm-hmm. It's a routine or a habit that we create that sometimes is healthy, sometimes it's not. A mundane mindset looks at time as something that just passes by. A miraculous mindset looks at time as something that we can utilize as an opportunity to go after the things that are in front of us.
And you are guiding us through this new book, through shifting from the mundane, which, by the way, if you think that you're not in a mundane because you just had an exciting morning coming into the Dameron Hall show, we all fall into the mundane.
Yes.
Right? We all fall into this memorization of time. Oh, it's such and such time. It's time for lunch. It's time for breakfast. It's time to get you to school. I just got my heart palpitations because we do all live in that mundane mindset of time.
We do. I believe that we're here for significance and not survival. And the way that we steward time determines the outlook, the perspective, and our realities. We are the sum total of the environment that we create. And if we don't steward the time well, if we're not intentional with it, and when I say intentional, I don't mean notifications on your phone all the time,
right,
or setting your calendar. I mean being hyper aware of the time that you have right here, right now.
I mean, first of all, I'm digesting all of this because it is very difficult to do.
It is.
Because you're always looking at, again, other things you need to do with your time. And right now we're here present. I see the Tam Fam leaning in and nodding. But trust me, in a few minutes, something will come into your mind of other things you need to be doing with your time.
That's right.
And that's why it's so hard.
It is. It is.
Time becomes so important when you experience loss or grief.
Mm-hmm.
You lost your dad to cancer, and you wrote about starting to resent God.
Yeah.
For a pastor to admit that, that's a big thing. For anybody to admit it, let alone someone who shepherds a church. But that is when time becomes so different, when you lose somebody.
Yeah.
Because you know it's not permanent.
For sure. I think no matter what walk you're on, there's questions that you have. And any pastor that can't admit that, number one, ain't telling the truth. And, I think the more honest that we are with this walk, this journey that we call life, and the questions that we have, the more we get an opportunity to discover God. God is not disappointed or turned off by my questions or even my doubts.
It's interesting, in your setup piece that we showed, you made it a point of saying, listen, I talk to people who believe and people who don't. So for you, this book is not about bringing someone into your church.
Right.
It is, though, the gospel of reality.
Yeah.
And that's time.
Yeah.
And the anxiety we feel behind it. Why is it, if we know it's so precious, as I said, the song says we're scared to run out of it,
sure.
that we mistreat it so? You counted up 1,440. We know it's not permanent. Why do we mistreat it? Why do we let people mistreat our time?
Yeah, I think it's because of decision-making and our perspective. And so if our perspective is right, then the outcomes of things that we desire to do becomes a lot more of less than a hope and more of a reality. And so I've learned over the course of leadership that we're born looking like our parents, but we die looking like our decisions. And when we decide how we want to steward our time, how we want to spend our time, who we spend our time with, then I believe we really get out of just existing and start to live, which is why I believe we're here, as I mentioned before, not just for survival, but for significance. Each and every one of us has a purpose. And I believe it was Mark Twain that said the two most important days of your life is the day you're born and the day you find out why. And when you steward your time the right way, it allows you to be able to tell people no, to make room for your yeses. And so there's power in your no this year, 2023.
Power in your no.
There's power in your no.